Good morning. This is the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Transport Briefing for Monday, March 6th. Looking to observe precipitation past 7 days, it has been a wet week, especially across the higher terrain of Utah, as well as northeast Nevada, much of the central Idaho mountains into western Wyoming. You can see the percent of normals on the right-hand side. A little drier across the Nevada desert, but again, a continuous stream of moisture and about 2 to 3 times normal weekly precipitation for the Sierra Front. Our 100-hour fuel's pretty benign at this point, as you'd expect in midwinter. Recent snowfall the past 72 hours here on the left, you can see, again, the higher terrain of northern Utah, anywhere from 8 to over 24 inches of snow, even 3 feet in some areas over the past 3 days, similar amounts across the Sierra. Generally 6 to 12 inches across the higher terrain of Idaho, and on the right-hand side, you can see the snow cover pretty much covering about 3/4 of the Great Basin. The exceptions are down near Moab and far southern Utah, even down to the desert floor and much of central and southern Nevada. So across the higher terrain, definitely just covered piles, probably being the only thing we can really burn in this kind of weather environment. A look at our snowpack, you can see, again, very large amounts, 150 to over 240% of normal across the southern half of the Great Basin, and ironically, a bit further north in the central Idaho mountains and western Wyoming, lesser percentages of normal, closer to near 90 to 100% of normal. But basically, everyone having a very good snowpack in the higher elevations. And you can see the culprit for this weather, a nearly stationary low-pressure system off the Pacific Northwest coast, the counterclockwise circulation bringing cold, moist, unstable air. So this cool, wet pattern is expected to continue for much of the week. Looking at the upper level map on the left, you can see that next stream of moisture pushing into northern California, Nevada, into Utah. Several inches of snow in the Salt Lake City metro area, as well as in the mountains. That'll be briefly tapering off today. No issues on our 7-day, although you do see in the lower right-hand corner as you get down towards the New Mexico-Texas border, we actually have high risk, in effect, some red flag type conditions. Totally different weather pattern down there. It's been dry, grasses are drying, humidity is low, and winds will be increasing down there. You can see the winds here on the left-hand side, and especially in the drier end of the storm across parts of the Arizona Strip, but mostly across Arizona and New Mexico, 30, 40-mile-an-hour winds with relative humidities anywhere from 10 to 15%. Otherwise, across the Great Basin, for us, minimum humidity staying above 40 or 50% in just about all areas. Again, probably too moist to burn anything other than piles. Mixing heights, as you would expect, with a low pressure system in the vicinity. Great overall vertical mixing here on the right-hand side. For tomorrow, that storm system slowly pushes inland. You see more clouds and precipitation here on the left across northern Nevada, much of Idaho. No issues on our 7-day. Again, humidity for the most part quite high here on the right-hand side. Winds will be lighter. They'll start picking up across northwest Nevada ahead of that next storm system. Again, mixing heights, some of the best ones we've seen this time of year. And normally as we get into March, the higher sun angle, we typically do get that better vertical mixing. So as soon as we get out of this wet pattern, we probably will have some good burning periods upcoming. Storm system, this is for Wednesday, pretty much socks back into the area. You can see the widespread dark green here. That's clouds and precipitation. Just a never-ending pattern with these storms coming out of the Pacific Northwest. No issues on the 7-day. Humidity stays high on the right-hand side. And on the left, you see the transport winds once again increasing ahead of that storm system. These purples and reds indicate transport winds of 30 to as high as 40 miles per hour. Again, vertical mixing, several thousand feet, 4,000 to 7,000 feet above ground level. That's excellent vertical mixing for any prescribed burning. Here's the 3-day precipitation totals. Not extraordinarily heavy from here on in. Maybe in the mountains, a 1/4 inch to locally a 1/2 inch could translate to 4 to 8 inches across some of the higher terrain. See that next storm system, though, the heavier precipitation across the Sierra. So going to Thursday, a big stream of moisture from the Pacific pushing into northern and central California. Leading edge of it pushing into Idaho. As we go into Friday, the storm system really deepens. You see all the height lines here packed together. Very windy, stormy, valley rains, mountain snows, and with colder air coming in, a lot of that snow is going to drop down to the valley floor. Again, everything green on the 7-day. So again, this Saturday, that storm system is a quick mover. It's already out into the northern plain states. We do get some drier air moving in. There's a storm system up off the British Columbia coast, and that one comes in and starts gathering more Pacific moisture, ready to slam into Northern California on Sunday, probably continuing the stormy pattern for the Great Basin as we go into early next week. Looking at the precipitation days 4 and 5, the heaviest will be across the northern Great Basin, especially across the central Idaho mountains and far northern Utah mountains and western Wyoming as well. But again, it's the Sierra getting pounded with an additional 4 or 5 inches of precipitation. Of course, that translates into snow. Days 6 and 7, as we go into Saturday morning through Monday morning, again, more heavy precipitation for the Sierra into parts of Nevada and into Utah, and that pattern just continues. This is the 7-day total. So again, the continued wet, cold pattern continues. And lastly, looking at the 8 to 14-day outlook, this takes us through March 13th through the 19th. No change as we continue with a cooler than normal temperature prognosis and a wetter to much wetter weather pattern for the entire region. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.